Hello everyone. Today we will start with Unit 3. Unit 3 3.1. It's about reproduction is an important characteristic of living organisms. The objectives for this lesson are firstly, to understand the importance of reproduction, to know that there are different methods of reproduction. Firstly, you should be able to define reproduction, the process of reproduction, and why it's important for living organisms. And then also you should be able to mention how many ways of reproduction there are there, and also the difference between these two ways. Firstly, as we studied at the beginning of this year, when we talked about the characteristics of living things, we said living things or living organisms, they share or they have some characteristics in common. For example, all living things, they breathe, they reproduce, they move. Okay, so today we will talk about one of these characteristics, which is reproduction. Reproduction, what do you mean by reproduction? It's increasing in number. So what's that mean? There will be one organism. This organism will bring offspring, okay, and it will make more and more of this organism. So a summary about reproduction, we will say living organisms can pass on their characteristics to the next generation, which is reproduce in two ways. Now, definition of reproduction, it's what? A new generation of individuals. Then reproduction, how many methods do we have? We have two methods or two ways. What are these ways? Firstly, the first way or the first method, we call it asexual reproduction. The second one, sexual reproduction. So how many ways, how many methods do we have? Two. What are they? Asexual and sexual. Now, let's talk in details about each one of them, and let's see what is the difference between them. Firstly, in asexual reproduction, it means only one parent organism will be involved. Only one organism it's needed to reproduce. Only one organism it's needed to make another organisms. So involves only one parent organism. Then all the characteristics of this one parent are passed on to all of the offspring. Because only one parent will be involved, so what will happen? All the characteristics of this parent will pass to the next generation. So the offspring, they will get the same characteristics as the parent one. Then, because when we are saying all the characteristics will pass from the parent to the offspring, so how will be the parent and offspring? All of them, they will be identical. What do you mean by identical? It means, the word identical, it means it's like a copy. It's something exactly as, okay? So asexual reproduction produces genetically identical offspring from one parent. What's that mean? All the offsprings, how they will be? They will be genetically identical to the parent. Why it's this? Because only one parent was involved in the reproduction. Then, when the organisms will reproduce asexually. Many organisms reproduce asexually when conditions are favorable. What's that mean? It means the living organism will reproduce asexually when the conditions in the environment are favorable. What's that mean? It means if there isn't enough amount of, for example, food, okay? This organism, it has enough amount of food, so we'll go through a asexual reproduction. One more thing, this process, it happened fast. It will not take a long time. Now, let's move to the sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, it's opposite. It will be opposite to asexual reproduction. How is that? Here in asexual, we said only one parent will be involved. But here, it requires two organisms of the same species. One, it should be male and the other one, it should be female. Two organisms are required. They should be the same species, and also they should be, one of them should be male and the other one, it should be female. Then each individual produce gametes. Okay, so the male will produce male gametes, or they call sex cells. Male will produce male gametes and female will produce female gametes. Okay, now because we will have male and female gametes, so what will happen to these two gametes? They will fuse. They will join each other. So when they will join each other, now this process we call it fertilization. Okay, fertilization, it's the fusion of the gametes to produce a zygote. Okay, or you can say in another words, fertilization, it's a process in which the male and female gametes join each other or fuse with each other. Now, after fertilization, there will be a zygote, and this zygote, it will be the embryo. Then it will develop to be the offspring. But in asexual reproduction, we said the offsprings, they will be genetically identical to the parent. Why? Because the genes, it pass from parent directly to the offspring. But here in sexual reproduction, it will not be the same. What will happen? Offspring receives some genes from each parent, so shows a mixture of parental characteristics. Here in sexual reproduction, the offspring will not be exactly, or it will not be genetically identical to parents. Why? Because the offspring, it receive information or genetic information or genes from both parents, from male and female, then mixed together. So the offspring here will get a mixture of parental characteristics. Then each of the offsprings is different to other offsprings and to parent. Again, in asexual, we said all the offsprings will be genetically identical to the parent. But in sexual, no. In sexual, each offspring will differ from the parents and also will differ from another offspring. Take a look on this diagram. This diagram, it shows how the organisms will reproduce with both ways, sexual and asexual. Now, let's start with the first one, asexual. It starts from here. Now, as you can see here, what do we have? we have only one parent cell. One parent cell, we call it diploid. Diploid, what's that mean? It means it have a copy of chromosome. Okay, it has two chromosomes. That's why it's written 2. It means number 2, and N, it means number of chromosomes. So 2 chromosomes in each cell. Or you can say it has a full set of chromosomes. Then, by a process, we call it mitosis. Focus here on mitosis because then it will be another thing here. In asexual, a process of mitosis will happen. Mitosis, it will make what? Offsprings. These offsprings are genetically identical to the parent. And then as you focus on these two letters, N, N, 2N with the same color, okay, because here then they will differ, okay. Then each offspring again will go through mitosis and will make another 2 new cells. These 2 new cells, or they represent organism. They are genetically identical. So this is a clone. What do you mean by a clone? It's like a copy. Okay, this is a copy. All cells are identical to each other and to the parent cell. So this one, it's the offspring. It's exactly same as this one, and also it's exactly same as this one. Then, if we will come to sexual reproduction, in sexual reproduction we say 2 parents are required. Now, 1 parent, 2 parent, okay? Here, this now it represents the male, okay? Because here it says diploid cell in testis. It's for male. While here it's diploid cell in ovary for female. Now what will happen? The diploid or the gamete or the sex cell, here it will what? It goes through meiosis. Focus on this word. Here it was mitosis. Here it's meiosis. In meiosis, the number of chromosomes will be half, will be divided into 2, okay? It will be 2 halves. So here it's N, N, but now these the gametes, okay, they are what? Each one, it's 1, N. So this, it divide, it separate. And the same thing here, it happened for female. Now, what will happen? See, the gamete here, now we call it what? Haploid. So, diploid, it's 2N, 2 chromosomes, a full set of chromosomes. Haploid, 1N, it's half set of chromosomes. Now, what will happen? A female gamete, male gamete. These 2 gametes, they will join each other by a process we call it fertilization. When they will fertilize with each other, they will form a cell, we call it zygote. Now, look at the zygote. It's what? It shares the characteristics of both male and female. The green end from male and red end from female. Now, if you will compare between this offspring and these offsprings, you will see here it differs from the parent. But here, no, it's exactly as the parent. So, the offspring, it's what? Diploid. Why it's diploid? Because it has a full set of chromosomes, but has received 1 set of genes from the father and 1 set of the mother. Sexual reproduction provides variation. What's that mean? In sexual reproduction, we say it when the gametes of male and female, they fuse with each other, they will form a offspring, or they will form an offspring that share different characteristics from parents. What's that mean? It means every time male and female, they will reproduce, they will form a new organism. But what do you mean by a new organism here? We mean organism that belong to the same species, but with some different characteristics. So these different characteristics in within a species, we call it variation. Another meaning for variations here, we will say some different characteristics. That's, for example, if we will take ourselves as an example, all of us, we came from a father and mother, okay? But we are a human, but our characteristics, it differ from our parents. So this, what happened, this, it's a variation. This, so the variation, it happened by what? By sexual reproduction. For sexual and asexual reproduction, if we will compare between them, we will see each kind of reproduction, it has advantage and disadvantages. For example, let's take an example of asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction can be advantageous. Why or how? When a single plant arrives in a new habitat by dispersal, for example, a seed of any plant by dispersal, when it will be introduced into a new environment, what will happen? It will directly grow and it makes many copies of the same plant, and it will occupy the habitat easily. So this is one of the advantages of it. It means the plant can, or the organism in general, it can reproduce fast. But some disadvantages to it. It's what? Because all the offspring are genetically identical, or they are the same. What's that mean? Any change to the habitat, it will affect all the organisms. It's not like sexual reproduction. For example, us now, we as a human, the offspring of a human belong to the same species, but they vary from each other. Let's take an example or how this is advantages. Nowadays, as you know, COVID-19, coronavirus. Now coronavirus, it's affecting human in general, but what is happening at the end, some of the people are dying, but the rest, they are getting rid from it. So why? What happened? This is what they mean by variation. Some people, they will die. Why? Because they have, for example, weak immune system, and also maybe they have some other diseases. But because of the variation, because our characteristics, it differ from each other, so the well-adapted one, the one with strong immune system, so he will be able to get rid of this virus. So more details, more differences between sexual and asexual. Then asexual, the advantage of it, we said only one parent is needed, and it's what? It's rapid colonization. What's that mean? It means it can form a colony. What do you mean by colony here? It means a large number of the same species. Okay, they can occupy a habitat rapid. Advantage of sexual, it's what? Variation. Okay, this is the most important advantage of sexual reproduction. So new features of organism may allow adaptation to the new environment. Okay, Now, the disadvantages. The disadvantages, no variation. Okay, so how this it will affect them? Any change in the environmental conditions will affect all individuals. Okay, here the disadvantage of sexual, this process it requires two parents. Okay, fertilization it's random, so harmful variations can occur. And what's best for growing crops? Now, which one it's better? Which one or which way it's the best way for growing crops? Is it sexual or asexual? Now, in sexual we said new varieties of plant can be developed. Okay, this might give a better yield, tolerate dry conditions, for example. Okay, but in asexual, varieties with useful features can be cloned to produce large number of identical crop plants. Now, both of them are good. Both of the ways are good for a crop, but each one it's good in a specific point. Here, it will makes what it will cause variation, so the plants it will be well adapted. It will be more able to tolerate the dry conditions. In another, but here in asexual, when you will have a specific kind of plant, let's say, and you want to grow this plant so fast, so you can use asexual way. So you can produce large numbers of identical crop. But be careful here. What will happen? As you can see here, this example, it's about potato. Because potato here, it reproduce asexual. So all potatoes are the same. So what happened? If any kind of disease will affect one potato, that means it will be able to affect the whole crop. Okay, so at the end what will happen? The whole farm, for example, it can be easily affected with one disease, and at the end all the potatoes will die at the same time. That was everything for this lesson. I hope everything was clear. Again, write a comment when you finish watching the video. And if you have any questions, concerns, please don't hesitate to text me. Thank you and have a good day.